Hey, hello everybody. Well, I've been a little bit out of my normal routine of shooting videos with you guys. I haven't been shooting a whole lot of this build going on because I've been up to my earlobes in another project on my own, and it's a dirty project, and I haven't put a lot of cameras involved with it or anything, but I tell you, I've just been staying a dirty boy. But I do want to take some time right here, and I want to walk through this build here. I've been waiting until the guys were done so I didn't disturb them. They just went home for the day. So let's do a little walk around right here on this build, and I want to talk to you guys a little bit about it, okay? So we'll start out here on the new sidewalk, and then there's a beam, a footing, not really a beam, but more of a footer down in the ground. It's big right here in the middle. And then this here is where the staircase slopes up, and that spot is so small and low with that angle underneath there, it would be hard to maintain it. So I poured a little concrete out underneath that area so it's not a spot that like grass and weeds and stuff like that would be growing, and it'd be, you know, coming right down to a point and it'd be hard to get in there. So that's the deal with that. It's curing along fine, and we'll bend that steel over and angle it, and it's be called a double matting. You see there's two rows, so there'll be two layers of steel going up in that staircase, and we're about to start on that. In fact, I may have them bend and doing that tomorrow, and that's what this 2x3 lumber is here for. We'll be taking and putting, for instance, a bamboo post, and over there a bamboo post, and we'll have a string pull to what these angles are coming up from up there in nylon, and we'll be setting these posts with 2x3s going across, and then it'll end up with your 2x2s going up this way across those, just like they're doing up there on that forming, and then the plywood, and then we'll bend all of the steel, set all of it for all the steps up. So they're about to be working on that. So Joel has been working diligently to get all of these in right here for these cantilever beams. Now I know those don't look very big, but by the time you add the distance of the beam going out around the perimeter on the end of that and all, it gets out there a little bit wider. All in all, it's about 5.5 feet for that little overhang going into those rooms. It's not really like a balcony where I'm gonna have, you know, people sitting with, you know, partying in chairs and stuff like that in front of their rooms. It's more about a pathway to go in your room. And if you want to hang out, there's lots of other places here to go hang out. You know, the further out I build it, the whole lot more cost and strength that's going to be involved when you're cantilevering something out. It can really, you know, start getting expensive, and I just didn't want it that big. So 5.5 feet's enough. It's about what is right here, and it works out just fine. All right, so underneath here, you see we're building an arch right here coming around, and there's gonna be a lot of real estate back up underneath here. And what I mean is there's gonna be a lot of, when this is closed in, there's gonna be a lot of space underneath here around by this pool. And so right now there's a current outdoor CR that we've used as a laundry room too. It has a shower and a toilet in it. We're gonna be moving all the laundry equipment out, and there's gonna be a room upstairs. There is additional room over here that I think I'm gonna put a men's urinal most likely in. It'll be just straight up, maybe a men's urinal only over here. It's one thing that aggravates me is seeing all the guys walking around peeing like dogs on any and everything they can. I don't like it. It stinks. It just draws up mosquitoes. It's just tacky. And we have a rule here on the property that if I catch any of the guys peeing around here, that they lose their job. I'm that strict about it. I was lax with it for a long time, but there's a restroom right here, and we have ladies here, we have guests here, and we have a rule that once, because I couldn't get them to stop it, so I had to get hard, because I don't want them peeing in front of guests. So we had an understanding with them that we catch anybody peeing out in the open, not going to the restroom, they lose their job. Because I want to be respectful to not only the property and ourselves, but to our female guests and all as well. And it's a good thing to teach them and have a little dignity. Now, I'm a country boy. I grew up too, you know, taking a leak in the yard, but I was a whole lot more in a private area out in the country than we are here. And there's a lot of people passing by, and we have guests here. So kind of stepped up this ladder here to get a shot over this bamboo. This is down the other side of the pool. You can see that arch is formed in there now. Cantilever there. Let's walk over here to the side. I hadn't looked today to see what it looks like. Oh, yep. And you can really see it taking shape there now. And here, these pieces of plywood are nailed on here and here. That's going to be like a square post coming up right there, that the concrete's going to stick out 2 inches further than the rest of that little archway there and all. And I may probably treat them with some stonework once that's done. So that's the dealio with that. You see it's all coming along very, very nice. Now let's go on up here to the top. Got a bunch of that dirt in my slipper. Some stones. All right. To the top, to the top. So you can get a view here from that beam right there to out here to the edge is going to be about 5.5 feet from the wall there. You can get a little look here at this right down in here. These little chairs right here, we made them ourselves. Some people call them pucks is a nickname for them because they're round like a hockey puck. Another name's a chair. That we made those ourselves, taking and cutting some PVC pipe. We bend wire and we make those in that pipe. We make a bunch of little short pieces of cut off PVC, and we bend that wire, stick in there, and put concrete in it. We made a whole stack of those one day, maybe over a 2-day period. One guy working just making pucks. So when you pour concrete, one of the mistakes I see happen here and in some other countries I visited too, that they try to not, you know, out in the rural provinces at least, you know, they don't get a really good standard on how things should be. And they'll let this steel get like all the way over to the edge of the form, and literally when they pull off their form, you will see the rebar, and that's not good. And once that rust goes into that rebar inside the concrete, it'll continue to eat away, growing inside of there, and then it'll start spalling or you know, bursting out in layers, and then it swells like with a pressure, and then it busts the concrete. You've just lost all integrity. So there's different industry standards out there. Some say 1.5 inches, some say 2 inches. I have a rule of a minimum of 2 inches space. So this right here needs to be pushed over right now. It's a little bit more than 2 here and a little under. So they'll come through and we'll do a finish up. Now I'll come through with some of those chairs, and I'll put one like right here on this side, and that'll make a spacing to keep this pushed over, because you got maybe about 2.5 over here and you got about 1.5 over here. So when you push that over, so I'll take these little 2-inch thick chairs and shove some in there and get that straight right there. We'll move on here and look at a few more things. So we have this bending tool that we bend this rebar with. We made them ourselves, welded them up years ago. Things I don't like that I see right now that I'll make them correct is I don't like this. So I want them to take this off, and I'm going to take that tool and I want them to bend that over this rebar right here, and not try to lock it on with this. I want it locked on with it bent over. So I'll make them correct that, and down here on the others also. And this is what I'm doing up here inspecting. So some people wonder, like my wife, in the beginning, she just didn't understand those cantilever beams and how could that possibly be strong. And the guys working here too, and they thought it's just gonna fall right off the house. They were scared to stand out there on them, that they're just gonna break off with them on there. They had no clue the mighty strength in those. And especially when you add that radius in the bottom, it's just like adding a gusset. That really makes it stronger. And now over time, they've been there and there's been a whole bunch of people on them and everything going on. And they're like, oh, wow. I told them, man, I could set my cars up there on it. They're not gonna go nowhere, but they just couldn't get it. To them, it's just gonna break off. But one thing is you can't just tie it on right out in the front. This is a cantilever beam right here. This is the front wall of where the front of the building here is going to be, and this is going to be that balcony outside right here. You need your steel to be tied back in deep. You can't just, you know, this steel right here and this beam just in here and then you just throw some out there in front of it. So with this steel being continuous right on through and right back across here, that is very strong. That means any of the weight pulling down is pulling this way in there on that rebar. Now rebar's got grooves on it, see? It's got these grooves. So that means you got a pivot point, like right here. This is a pivot point. And just like my tendon in my hands pulling up there on top. See it up there, the ligament and tendon there? Well, that's this steel. That's this steel. And it's strong up there. And my thumb is just like that little curved part is supporting, and this is strength all the way through, strength all the way through. And so that's just like it's tendon or ligament all the way back, tied in far back, and it can't pull out of all that concrete. It's not just going to snap off. And like I say, you add that where that curves down and ties in to the column below, it is amazingly strong. All right, well, let's look here a little bit more. Have a look around up here on all of this. So they tied where their 20-foot piece of steel ended. They did their crossover tie way back here, and it's crossed over right at it. See it? They got maybe 1, 2, 3. It's about a full meter crossover where, you know, one piece is crossing over another piece, like you see right here, where one's crossing over another one. They cross over about a full meter. Probably didn't have to be quite that much, but hey, you know, the more the better. The more the better. So this is going to be each room 12 foot wide, and so from that beam to that beam, so it's going to be from wall to wall. It's going to be when the walls are finished, about a full 16 foot inside the room, actual usable dimensions. And now that right there is not where a dividing wall is going to be. That's just where the points that we broke this slab up for support carrying the load across. Okay, now the rooms, each one's going to be 16 by 12 foot inside, 16 by 12, and there will be 3 16 by 12 rooms. And then we're going to come on over here, and right here at this beam right here, that whole space where you see we're starting to do steel work over the top of the old CR right there, the outdoor CR. It's the reason nothing ever else was done with that, because we knew we were going to be coming along building over the top of it. That's why there was already existing columns poured out in front of it. This was planned long ago. So that whole area going across down there and back across over here, this whole area here is going to be a big laundry room. Now it's a pretty big space. It's a lot of space, but it's going to be more than just a laundry room. It's going to be a stock room and all. So employees can hang out in there and put their stuff, you know, they're on their break or whatever they want to do, you know, keep their little personal items and all that. Kind of say like kind of little lockers or something for their own stuff. In fact, I might see if I can pick up some secondhand lockers. That would be pretty cool. But there's going to be shelves, and of course we're going to have towels and sheets and extra stuff all folded up and stored in there. You're going to, you know, have your cleaning supplies stored in there. You're going to have extra stuff like your soaps and your shampoos and things like that all stored in there. Toilet paper. So it's going to be a stock room / laundry room, multi-purpose room, and that's going to be pretty nice, all up right here. So it'll have a door going into it right over there on that angle. My finger keeps making the camera refocus. That angle going across right there, there'll be a door. Now that staircase is coming down. Don't know what all is nailed good yet and not. You can see where the staircase is down there. That staircase is going to be coming up right here in front of my finger right there, and it's going to be at an angle, so the landing at the top is going to be feathered around, and then the steps coming straight down. So when they come to the top, the staff can just, you know, hook right around into the door coming in here. Guests can go straight down through there and go in each room prospectively. Here you can see where they've put one of those chairs or pucks in on the side to give it that 2-inch spacing, making sure that they got their spacing right there. And here we've got multiple beams coming together over the top of a column. So you've got your straight through steel for your cantilever coming out, but then we've got this one here turning off like at a 45 degree here, and the steel is come around and tie back in it too. So it's going to be a, you know, a spot right here, right on top of this column, carrying a lot of load from different directions. We drilled into the top. There's a perimeter beam on top of this room right here. We drilled into the top of that beam, and we epoxied in 2 pieces of steel, 2 out of the 4 that's in this beam right here. The bottom 2 are drilled into and epoxied into that existing beam, and then the remaining 4, as you see over there, we're making stirrups and bringing it on around, and we pouring the flooring up over the top of that right there. So what'll be coming up next is we got all the steel to sit up here once they finish this last bit of forming and plywood right over here, but we're going to do one continuous pour when that day comes. But let's stay back on what else comes next first. So just like we did when we poured that slab right there on that second floor, we set for all the lighting for the rooms down below to be in the ceiling. Well, there's a swimming pool underneath right here, and there's a couple little like spa areas in the pool. That's like spa therapy, like some little lounge areas, I guess you'd call like a jacuzzi or something like that. I'm going to put lights focusing underneath down in here accordingly. Like this is going to be an area underneath by the pool right here, straight down underneath there, that you would, you know, walk around or sit and hang out around, lounge around the pool. This where I'm standing is over the water here right now. This is over the water. All of this is over the water. So I'm going to put light features pointing down straight onto the water here as well, lighting in all over there. So we'll have to put in all of our electrical boxes and conduit. And if any of you didn't see the house build on this over here, and you're new to our channel, we'll tell you a little bit about how we build. So I build in a very cost-saving way. And one of the things is I don't do suspended ceilings down underneath. I make sure that the formwork and the concrete work we do is fine enough that when we pull our forms, it's ready just to finish. And I embed the electrical in. So I set the boxes, I set all the conduit. Sometimes I even pre-wire it before we even pour the concrete. And when we pull the forms, everything's there. It's ready just to put your outlets in. It's ready just to put your light fixtures on. It's ready just to put a little thin skim coating, kind of like a plaster, onto the walls and prime it and paint it, texture it, whatever you want to do. And the number one thing is to make sure that you do good form work to start with, because when you pull it, that's going to make the difference. You spend a lot of time trying to straighten up mistakes or just go straight on to your finished work. So all this electrical boxes will be set and tied down, and if you missed it in our old videos, go back and watch them early on in the build. You'll catch a lot of that anywhere from episode 60 on up, you know, right in there, 60 to maybe, like, because we did multiple levels. That's a big place over there, and we did it again and again repetitively. Hey Melly, you running? Huh? So just watch and you'll see. If you missed it before, you can go back and watch those, but you can watch it here too, and we'll be setting all of that in. Also, we'll be setting the plumbing here for all the toilets and all the sinks. So all, and the you know, the sinks, the showers, you know, all your plumbing right there, all your drainage plumbing. We'll be setting all of that in the floor before we pour. Once again, we pull the forms. It is literally ready for, you know, if they have walls, it is literally ready for those fixtures to be installed. And then when we do the walls, I use PPR pipe. And now PPR is not PVC. And I know that you're newer to the channel, or maybe you're in places like United States that don't really promote and sell PPR pipe. It is way superior to PVC pipe, and it's used a lot, like actually like in places like Eastern Europe, Turkey, Hungary, all throughout Europe. Actually most of the rest of the world uses PPR pipe, and the US is the ones that's kind of the eyeball on that and uses that lousy PVC, or they use a lot of PEX, and PEX is okay, but the PPR is really good in that, and it handles in freezing. It don't turn brittle out with sunlight, especially if you buy a good quality one. So I'm sure you can buy a lousy product in anything, but if you'll buy a good one, and it does not use solvent to weld it together, to glue it together, it's fused together with heat. So that might be why it's not so popular in the US, because insurance companies dominate everything in the US, and people are going to have to use a really hot tool that's melting that PPR together, and maybe they just want to keep a rubber bumper around them and keep lawsuits down. So the insurance companies, that might be the reason, because you're going to be using a very hot tool that's heating that up and fusing it together. So that's what we're going to be using, is PPR pipe, and that will also be all embedded in. It has real good quality fittings. If you buy the really good fittings, and they're expensive, I'm not going to joke, they're expensive, but they will have like real nice brass or stainless steel inserts inside of them on the threads. Amazing good product. So that's what we'll be using on that. All of our wall outlets will be embedded into the walls. Everything. There's no coming back like the common practice here in the Philippines. You build a wall, you finish a wall, then you cut open your wall or chisel it open and lay in conduit and plaster over where you already worked. One shot. We do this one shot clean. If you didn't see my build before, please go back and watch our old videos and the house build list and watch all that take place. This is going to be a very smooth, straightforward operation. It's taking some time to get all this forming here done, because of course we got a pool that we're incorporating underneath at the same time, and we're doing a lot of you know, beautiful work with all of the arches and everything. But once we get this poured, the walls are going to go fast. Now there won't be another deck poured on top of this like I did over here. It was deck after deck, 1, 2, and there's a room in the middle, and then you won't be all these decks. There ain't gonna be all these levels. This is it. This is the only level right here. So I will be doing a steel roof on this, and like over here on the house over top of the open decks, I roofed it. I used a very heavy grade what they call long span here in this country. We call it like R paneling all back in the US. Here the name for it is long span. And you can request and get, maybe not from everyone, but I have a supplier here, and you can request and get the really good thick sheeting on that it will last. It will absolutely last. So we're going to be doing a metal roof on this, so that's going to make it go pretty fast also. So everybody, this is what's going on, and I really hope that you join in. I'll make this a series to itself with its own playlist on the vlog. I'm just now starting to number them, because it's kind of hard. Where do you end with the swimming pool and begin with the build above it, because they're both getting done kind of simultaneously at the same time right here. Utilizing space, you know, building rooms over the top of a pool, and making it happen. So everybody, I appreciate you watching. I appreciate all of our loyal supporters always, all you wonderful people. Comment, tell me what you think about it all. And I can tell you this, I am a very seasoned builder, and most of you know, you've already seen this big home that goes all the way up to a 6-story view deck that we built here. I know what I'm doing. For you new people that are wondering, why don't you have a cement mixer? Well, that's fighting words with me, and we'll talk about that as the build goes on. We're going to discuss that and my feelings on that, and why I choose to not use a mixer, at least here in this country and for this project. And I'll explain all that to you, and maybe it'll make sense to you. And everybody, I'm gonna end my day. I've got to go back down and get back on my other project that'll eventually come out on the vlog, and a whole different genre of stuff. So with all of that, everybody, thank you, God bless, and we'll see you on the next one.